Hello everybody and welcome to another Jake's RC Stuff. Now usually when you see this green thing it's a mailbag episode or where I unbox things. But not today. Today it's actually an overview of the mini Talon. Now this is pre-Maiden, but everything is working, it's ready to Maiden. It's actually 10 past 10 at night. I finished an 8 o'clock shift, so I'm a little bit very tired. But we'll see how it goes. So let's start with the wings first. And the first thing with wings is this lovely bag that my dad made, and crikey, that's knocked down the brightness on the camera a bit. Jesus. So that stuff is made out of, all this wing bag is made out of radiator insulation. It's sort of like a bubble wrap, sort of silver material put over it. So it's stronger than regular bubble wrap, and so it doesn't pop as easy. So yes, for going behind radiators, you can sort of buy it from B&Q and places like that, or Lowe's or whatever in the States, you know what I mean. It's actually the last time you'll hear about this stuff, because I actually used the other bit that comes with this in the fuselage, and we'll talk about that when we get there. So it holds, of course, the long, thin carbon rod and the smaller in length, thicker in diameter one. So here is the first wing. There it is. Mini Talon. I need to make a bigger sticker for this, but this is the one that came with the kit. You will notice there's a load of sort of dents on the surface. That's because it's so hard to get these wings on. Like, I feel like I should maybe chop like 5mm off of each thing just to make it a little bit easier to get on and off. But as you see by the top, of course, we also have this. I'm just going to adjust the focus now, doing some of the close-in stuff. So this is the red carbon effect vinyl. I got in the sale where I got the Nano Talon and the black wing. In the EU they were selling these off cheap. The rolls supposedly were 20 quid down to 6. Which, for vinyl, didn't seem too bad to me, because vinyl is expensive. We have a vinyl cutter, so we know how expensive rolls are. Especially for carbon stuff. But now it seems like it's just always at like £6.50, so they sort of did me a little bit there. Not the best job. I have put blender tape around the edge to help keep it on. It's a little bit raggy around there. And I have noticed this back edge is wanting to lift a bit, so we'll see how that goes. So as for what I actually had to ask on the Magnuts Off Facebook group was whereabouts the aileron cable went. It actually goes down the back of this spar, which I don't really like, because I had to cut it out because they're never deep enough. I had to cut it out to make it deeper, and I'm always worried that that's weakening the tube. It's not making it as strong. Another thing I did is the cable is meant to go around this area here. I basically just cut straight across. The MG90S servo that I'm using here, masking taped and just medium Zaps super glue in there. Cable across a bit too short, so I just got a little whatever extension lead I found kicking around. As for the aileron linkage, it's the stock, or what comes with the kit, control rod. These are actually recommended by Matthew Ogborn control horns. I don't really like them. They're a bit thin, like across there. A bit scared of them snapping. The other ones are actually more stronger, but because I didn't go through, they're more likely to come unglued and come off. So I see the point of them, and that's why I decided to use them. So that is the right wing. And the left wing, pretty much exactly the same. You can see what I was talking about the back of this lifting off a little bit. But pretty much exactly the same. It's just got the XUAV logo on it. Same on there. Same across there. Nothing that exciting, so we'll stick that back in the wing bag. I must always remember when recording with this DSLR that it has a 10-minute thing before it needs to cool down, or I'll just set the recording on again. So that's that done, and now I'm going to actually get on to the more complicated piece, The main fuselage, here it is in its glory. Ooh, there it is. There's a sort of overview of it for you. So we'll start right from the front and work our way backwards. So immediately, what you'll be able to see is I have, and first, and can I just say, I hate this white Gorilla Tape job I've done on here. White Gorilla Tape is good. My go of applying it this time, not very good. But as you can see, I've cut it off and smoothed it to be more like the Nano Talon. Matthew Ogborn mentioned that somebody else had done it, and I saw the video and went, I'm going to do that. So when it was in two halves still, I just gently cut at it with one of the Hobby King, like zip in and out flexible knives, the super cheap ones, and just cut it flat and then sanded it once I glued it together. Sort of cut it roughly, cut little bits off each time until you get closer, then leave it, glue it together and sand it down. That's it. As I say, I don't really like the tape job I've done on here. That hole there that is covered up, that was actually where I was going to stick the airspeed sensor for the FY41. That's right on the front here. Canopy as well actually included some more slicing, so when that was in half, I sliced it so you can, apologise for knocking the thing, it's an actual canopy. I'm not sure why this is blocked in from standard, but I just sort of cut a bit out at a time. It's got 5 magnets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to hold it sort of in place, and then a band to hold it on. Inside you've got the carbon rods that come pre-installed. The wires here, one's for the camera, one's for the airspeed sensor, one's for the pan servo, and then of course, hopefully if I actually still have on the camera, the main power leads. Let me put the canopy back on. So as you can see, it sort of holds itself on, but it's just a bit. So I have the band on, double check. If it needs more, stronger reinforcement to keep it in place, we'll get to that point when we get to that point. So as I say, on the canopy itself, you've got the airspeed sensor, Runcam Eagle as well on an MG90 pan servo, no tilt because I never really use it. Going further back from there, we have of course our video transmitter with V antenna, just straight there, an official Fab lollipop stick glued in, Flytron V antenna. The reason, so I'll sort of cover this now because it's appeared. So the main things that send out stuff are the video transmitter here, the long range antenna here, and this GPS antenna. They're the stuff that sort of interfere with each other. But the V antennas, because they are they blast more that way than out the back, I always put them near the front. And then the actual, I've never had issue with GPS and long range stuff interfering with each other, so I kept them fairly close. But we'll get to them when we get to them. So that's that. Now the inside, this canopy here, I decided to cut that before I put it together, and story on putting it together soon, because it was going to be a ball ache to use the screws. I've not actually done that. I've done a Matthew Ogborn idea, so I've strengthened it up. As you can see with this carbon fibre stuff, it's not completely opaque, slightly transparent. You can see the strengthening carbon rods I put in. Didn't do a fantastic job of doing that. This whole plane was made in sort of like a series of sort of half an hour here or there was how this was done. But I'm just going to pause the recording and start it again. That's fun. I'm an idiot and actually didn't press record, so I just talked for a bit and it wasn't recorded. And I can't really remember where it was up to. So I'll just sort of, so when I'm putting this together, I used goop. I'll cut this out if I haven't already said it. I layered it on one side and then sort of realised it was going very sticky already, like hardening. So I sort of quickly spattered something on the other side and put the fuselage together. and completely forgot the middle section. Now luckily I hadn't glued it together, so I took it apart. I then glued the side pieces. So I glued in these side pieces in on both sides, and then glued in these wooden frames and the little extra bits like that go over it. And that's fine. But when I was building it, I really had to wrap it up tight with masking tape, sort of round and round the fuselage, keep it nice and tight, and it's got off okay. We'll obviously have to see when it eventually hits the ground whether it just splits open because the glue is only just holding it together or what, but it seems fine. Now I'm going to let you have a proper look inside. I am known as someone who, and this is a quote from me that I'm surprised isn't on a t-shirt yet, I don't do neatness, because whenever I do anything neat, it doesn't work, so I have to rip it apart to try and fix it, and then it works, and then I'm scared to take it apart and put it back together neatly in case it doesn't work again. So brace yourself, and also it's actually quite hard in this model to do neat stuff because there isn't that much room. But let's have a look inside. So you've got your cables running into the front there. That is your FY41AP. That piece of wood that it's on, because it's hard to get a ruler in there, is 80mm by 80mm, and that gives you, as you can see, the gaps on the side for cables. If you want it to be solid, I would say it's 80 by 100 long. This is really hard. I'm actually going to stick it behind the camera like that. Okay, so that is the aileron wire lead sat on top of that. You go further back here, you've got your Easy UHF long range receiver and the current sensor. They're actually velcroed in, but they don't look like it. Under the tray you've got Hobby King cheapo 5A BEC, because I like having a separate BEC, should I say. And of course you've got two antennas, one at the side, one at the top. And then you've got back there a 50A red brick speed controller. Some advice that we've learnt the hard way is you always want the BEC as far forward as you can, because if it wants to be the first thing in your system that the power gets to, because if something fails, it usually affects the stuff after it. So for example, say you have the BEC soldered onto the speed controller wires like you would in a normal plane. Before it gets to you, it has to actually go through the current sensor. And a friend of mine from the flying field, current sensor burnt out, or something went wrong with it, and he lost motor and servos, and it sort of just, luckily he was in a circle and upwind, so it just blew downwind, actually landed pretty much perfectly in the field next door. So we just got it and it was fine. I think he might have broken the tail off. It was a Skywalker, so the T-tails are fragile on them anyway. But other than that, it was fine. So what I would say is put the BEC as soon as you can. Now, from other past experience, don't put it on the connectors for the battery at the front, because you use those connectors quite a lot. The very thin wires for the BEC can actually snap. We've had that before. So where I've put them is actually on the input to there. I've put it there, so it's still the first thing it gets to, but it's not right on the first connector where it can get broken from being pulled on and off all the time. So it's on one of these wires here. It's hard to say because light is in the way. So the FY41, the way that's wired up is, regardless of how you have your Tyrannus or whatever it is set up, S1 is aileron, S2 is elevator, S3 is throttle, but I don't use that. That's where I put my BEC into. Got to have it in S3 to make it work. And S4 is rudder, and if you wanted to, you could have S6 as aileron, but I just do a wire lead, it's easy enough. And then for the settings on the FY41, I've got circle and return to launch as my two configurable modes. I have it set at the moment for I think standard it comes as a 4, I've set it to a 5, just so it's nice and round and easy to remember when flying. On 5K, where we fly, it's still in line of sight, to be honest. And V-tail on the FY41, don't put V-tail on your radio. But yeah, the long range receiver is just change the band, downgrade the firmware to 1.48. So with Easy UHF, if you have the receiver and the transmitter on different firmwares, they won't bind. So the issue is when I first got Easy UHF, 1.48 was the latest one out, so I updated everything to 1.48. Since then, other versions have come out. I think they're like 1.56, I think. But I don't want to update every model I have with long range stuff in it, so I just downgrade all the new planes to 1.48. If I ever upgrade my radio from my Futaba 10, thinking about possibly getting one of the cheaper Tyrannuses, the X7 or whatever it is, possibly just for more channels than 8 channels. I'll probably upgrade that to the latest one, and then every model I put on there will be steadily upgraded, because every model's got to go on there eventually. But yeah, that's basically everything that's in there. So yeah, there's actually nothing that holds that on. It's just a very tight fit because of the issues with building the fuselage. And that's fine. Looks quite nice with the red stuff. Easy to find if it does fly off. That was the main reason for doing that red stuff, and then sort of I continued the design from there. So if you move further back, how are we doing for focus? Actually quite good. That's the red strobe on. I was going to put a white one in the front, but it was a pain to wire up. I didn't really know where to put the wires, so that's fun. GPS for the FI41 as well is here. Something I didn't mention up at the front, the batteries I'm using in this, I actually have them here annoyingly, but I actually bought some batteries I never used, some 5.2 4-cell, the little green multi-star ones that are quite thin. But my favourite large capacity 4-cells are actually the 5000 4S black hard case ones. I'll remember to put a picture on the screen, possibly in editing, probably not, but I'll try and link them in the description. If you're watching this video and I haven't done it, then leave a comment down below and I will put it in the description and say thank you to whoever does it, in case I'm a forgetful sot, because I am. But yeah, they're about 20 quid for a 4S 5020C, and they're really good, and because they're hard case, they'll survive many smashes. I use them in a couple of planes, twin star. The ready-made RC Anaconda has 2 for a 10,000 milliamp power doodah. But yeah, that's good. Moving towards the rear now, I did think about cutting this off, but since I got the Talon out of the box, I'm quite glad that I didn't, because that also has this on, probably for stability more than anything. Don't really make much of this Gorilla Tape job again, probably take it off and do something else. And I'm just going to restart the recording again and hopefully actually set it recording this time. And we're definitely going this time. So moving on to the back, of course we have our red carbon theme continuing with a bit of blender and tape to keep things from lifting off. The servos, again, more MG90s. They are actually using the upgraded control horns, and I put them on this side. They're meant to be on the bottom, but as you can see, the holes are already gone through. I decided to put them on top because, to me, there's less chance of them getting knocked here than being knocked on the bottom. So I decided to put them on the top. That's why I did it, for knocking reasons. Another thing while we're talking about these, on most of my FPV models, they do not have dual rates. I did put dual rates on this, about, I think they're 60 on low, 100 on high, so max on high. Just to see what it's like. I'll see what happens from there. I might just either program it in so you can't change them to high rates, or do it mechanically and then just leave them at 100, but we'll see what happens. The motor is a Matthew Wogborn recommended Sunny Sky X2216 8 1250 kV on an 8x6 gem fan prop. I'm usually not someone for using cheap non-name props, but this is a gem fan who do a lot of the quadcopter stuff. Did take a bit of balancing, but doesn't really matter. The tails, of course, are also glued in with plumbing glue. Actually, really good job done on them. Oozes out quite a bit, but never mind. One of the worst jobs, other than the fuselage, and putting this thing together, was fitting the. Here is when the focusing is important. So that piece of wood this is bolted to is actually made by me, pretty much from scratch. I filed the corners to make it so it fitted. It's not brilliant. I was more bothered about making sure it was straight more than anything. I'm not sure quite how well it's glued in, to be brutally honest. But the ply that's behind it that comes with the kit is solid. It's glued in properly. And with this being a pusher, it's actually pushing into that. If it was pulling, and to be fair, that's not coming out, giving it quite a good pull. I'd be more worried about it, but to be honest with you, that's fine. And as I said, it's a 50 amp red brick ESC in there, and I'm using a separate back because I do on the majority of my FPV planes. But that's it. I decided not to build it up. It does all build up fine, just so it's easier to handle for the video. It does like falling over, I believe, because of the receiver being slightly on one side, but that's it, ready for Maiden. Something just to interject before I go into the random jollop at the end. When I actually built this, I didn't test any of it because my batteries weren't nearby, essentially. So I basically completed the plane, plugged the battery in, and everything worked. And it's such a long time since that's happened, I'm almost worried that that's jinxed the plane for the maiden flight if everything's gone so well. But everything worked. The FI-41 was easy to program. When I could be bothered to plug it into the computer, programming the receiver was nice and easy. Plugged it in, everything worked. The picture looks good. All ready for its maiden flight. We'll see what happens. But yes, back to me waffling about some other stuff. I'll let you know how that goes. I'll give you some final thoughts of it. But I'm just waiting for a decent day when I'm A, off, and B, the weather is playing ball. So yes, that is my mini Talon. The nano Talon, the small little one from ZOHD or something like that. That jumped up the queue because I want these to be both ready at the same time. I've had it out of the box. I've decided to swap the speed controller on that. And then from there, I'm actually going to, because the parents are away, which is helping me do this without being disturbed. I'm actually going to try and do tomorrow night. I sort of build, because it's a basic build of basically just changing the speed controller and putting the rest of the stuff in, the receiver and the FPV gear. I'm actually going to do a video where I record as I build it, kind of thing, instead of just building it and doing the video afterwards. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. But if you enjoyed this one, please give it a like. Subscribe if you're new. I'm changing the way the mailbags work. I'm only going to do stuff that's new and exciting. So no repeats, no more cheapo Banggood cameras. And like recently I got some 2mm carbon fibre from Banggood and some rod and some 3mm wide flat from Easy Composites and some SMA connectors, 90-degree adapters from Banggood. They're not going to be in a mailbag because they're not really that interesting. They're just like random general things. Things like different cameras, different video transmitters, things like that, they are interesting to show in a mailbaggy type thing. But just getting random parts really isn't. To be honest with you, they're just easy to do when I'm struggling for time, because I do want to keep these at one video a week. But anyway, I'd rather put out a video saying, sorry, no video this week because nothing interesting has happened, or just recording an update of things, like just an audio one, rather than just filming complete crap. I'd rather have more of a talk about stuff than just, here's some random stuff I got in the post. Not really what I want to be doing. I want to sort of up quality now. Woo. But yes, that's this video. Thank you for watching. If you're new, subscribe. Like if you're new, and like if you liked, subscribe if you do. That's the better way around to do it. Or both. Just do whatever you like. I'm not forcing you. But anyway, thank you all for watching. Helps me a lot. And we'll see what happens with this.